Are we live? And yes, we are live as always. Greetings, everyone, all my followers of darkness, shadow scavengers, and villainy aficionados. Welcome. I'm your host, Laura Shells, as always, and bienvenue to another Villains Review episode. Sometimes people would say revenge could be like an eye for an eye situation, which sometimes an eye for an eye means, going at it with 1,000 drones. Well, this is something we're going to talk about today, because today I'm going to talk about a certain villain that really caught my attention ever since I saw this movie, which of course is Spies in Disguise. The very last movie that Blue Sky did before it was shut down. And when I say Spies in Disguise, of course I'm talking about the main villain, Killian. Or as they call it, like his actual name be Tristan McFord, although I don't recall actually being called that way in the movie. Like in end credits, the Ben Mendelsohn, even the directors called him Killian. So I really don't know where Tristan McFord as his real name came up. Anyway, Killian, now to kind of give you a little backstory. So basically, Killian is this like vengeful terrorist, basically, who tried to buy a drone on the black market to get his revenge on Lance Sterling, who basically screwed him up a long time ago in Kyrgyzstan, destroying every single one of his men. And now basically Killian is back, with some parts of his body missing, going at Lance Sterling, exact his revenge because of what he did to him a long time ago. But of course, that doesn't mean, because usually when a villain goes up against a hero, usually is the hero only one on the list when it comes to revenge. But for Killian's case, no. If you're gonna pay, everyone else in the agency is gonna pay, and that's exactly what it happened. Like, sending 1,000 drones at him kind of gives you the right message, is it? Anyway, so basically, as I said before, Killian is basically, another type of villain, with an old school fashion goal, which of course, is revenge. Although this time, when it comes in this particular case, he lost his men, he lost his eye, he lost his ear, and he lost his arm, basically, so which also kind of makes him a cyborg, vengeful terrorist, in a way. But overall, like oh wow, we already have we just started and we already have a comment. Let's see what we have here. Oh, my good old FRC. Villains reviews by the king of villains. Please subscribe to this legend if you haven't already. Well, cheers for basically doing this little commercial for me, FRC. Sometimes free marketing doesn't hurt, so thank you very much. Oh my God. FRC, oh my God. I love this guy. I love this guy. I really do. Thank you again for the comment. I appreciate it. Anyway, now, of course, when it comes to overall villainy, in this case, Killian or Lance Sterling in disguise, or Robo Hand is basically how they call him throughout the movie. This guy is basically a very, very, simple, classical type of villain. I wouldn't go as far as say, that he even could pass as a James Bond villain, even though ironically this is kind of like a spy, like, action anime movie. So, you kind of get the idea. But anyway, Killian basically, like I said, he's a guy who simply wants revenge because of what Lance Sterling did to him, President Kyrgyzstan, a long time ago. And there's a lot of like stuff in this like guy that was really, really impressive. One of the things I love about him is that, which is something that usually don't see that happen quite often in fiction. But one of the things I love about Killian is that he's a villain who works alone. Sure, like, he's got some connections, like, with that, Yakuza guy, from the black market, from which he got the drone and everything, and sure, at the end he got all those 1,000 drones and everything. But literally, when it comes like real life breeding henchmen, he got zero. Everything he did it by himself. like going to the black market to that Yakuza guy, try to, infiltrate this secret lab, like pretending to be Lance Sterling, and basically try to reproduce all these, like, I think we're called M9 assassin drones, I think, to basically make a massive reproduction, and then basically go all the way to Venice to get the list of every single member of the agency that Lance Sterling is a part of. Like, I mean, for a guy like that, I mean, I have to say, this guy, I really appreciate his conviction. I really do. Like, he went all this far just to simply get even with Lance Sterling, and which kind of also describes his character a little bit deeper, especially for that one specific scene when he was like, with Lance Sterling face to face, where he basically said, before he activated all the drones, he said, "You hit me hard, Sterling, and I hit back harder," and he activated the drones, and phew, all like down I go, to destroy every single member in the agency, because, which kind of brings me back to the an eye for an eye, thing, like, hey, you destroyed me, you killed my man, in return, I'm gonna fucking destroy you and kill every single member you care about in the agency, so that way, hey, we can be even, and again, the guy, has a massive conviction. I will give him that. Like, he has a massive conviction. I really have deep respect for him, as a villain. Now, again, people will ask me, like, what kind of type of villain would you basically put him on? It's very simple. Like I said, vengeful terrorist. I mean, when it comes to the overall occupation, you kind of say, he's a terrorist and a crime lord at the same time, but it kind of points out more into the terrorist area, basically, like, because even like we didn't get too much information, basically, but it looks like, he did some like criminal jobs in Kyrgyzstan as well, to kind of like, a long time ago, before he became a cyborg and everything, like, it kind of gives you an idea that perhaps this guy, kind of like goes and works on his crimes like worldwide and everything, so it kind of goes more into the terrorist type of, like, a villain and everything. Now, of course, which with each and every villain, we have strengths and we have weaknesses. Now, when it comes to the overall strength of Killian, I mean, where to start? Like, he has higher level intellect. He has, like, robotic, like robotic arm utilization, control over the drones, the M9 assassin drones. You can even put him like in a master of this, as a master of disguise. Basically, every time when he was trying to infiltrate as pretending to be Lance Sterling, you can also, say he has some, like, technology expertise. As you have seen, like, throughout the movie. I mean, again, the type of villain, that Killian is, like, he's not the type of villain that you will see, like, as an overall scientist, someone who actually understands science. But it's still, like, see throughout the movie, that he kind of knows some, like, he has some kind of like general knowledge of technology, like, especially, utilizing his cybernetic parts. Let's put it that way, I mean, then for that you have also some sort of, like, leadership, intimidation, also interrogation as well, also, charisma, cunning, and conning, and and like deception. He also, I would say, he has a strategic mind, if I may add that as well. And for the end, I would say he also has some sort of like a tactical mind as well. So there's a lot of, like, stuff in this guy, that that's actually very impressive. But now I want to go to the deception a little bit. Now, the deception, when it comes to Killian, you can kind of say it could be, because, like, he was deceiving everybody to be Lance Sterling, because, like, which is kind of like a very old school classic villain thing to do, basically, to kind of, like, for, like, every single crime they commit, they always try to put the blame on someone else. And most of the time, it involves the main hero, which, of course, in this case is Lance Sterling, pretending to be him, and all the infiltrations, destroying the facilities, and capturing, stealing the M9, droid and everything, and basically, all the time he was pretending to be him, which I will say it's also one, a part of his plan, to exact his revenge, as well. And it is done in a very clever way. I will give him that, because I'm really curious who put all those cybernetics on his face, and the hand and everything. Like, I really wonder who did this to him, like, because like that part of technology, like, but basically he just simply, where, if, of course, if you watch the movie, if you haven't noticed it, like at the very beginning when the Lance Sterling and Killian were fighting the very first time, Killian grabbed him, and with that one eye that was cybernetic, one of my friends, I remember, like, he was saying, like, what the fuck is he doing? But then I realized, since he has his face, it means that he scanned him. He fucking scanned him somehow, and basically, utilized his face, after that, again, pretty clever and impressive for a villain like that. Now, again, one of the things that also you can kind of put into the deception thing is the idea of, like, for example, when, like I said, when he infiltrated the lab, and basically he forced the scientists to reproduce the M9 assassin drones, and basically, he, and basically controlling them, through his hand and everything. And he took one of the scientists. I will even go as far as say he might be the last one he let live to kind of like reproduce them and everything. He grabbed the drone and Killian through the drone, grabbed the scientist, like put him, like, went outside, put him, like, basically hanging over the cliff, basically. And he was like, no, hey, please, no, don't do this. You promised to let me go and everything. Like, if I did everything what you said. And he was like, yes, didn't I? And then he just simply let him go, which is, again, it's a very classic villain thing to do, very traditional, where, like, yeah, it's like, yeah, sure, yeah, like, I will keep my word. And then when everything is done into your favor, you're like, you know what, I'm gonna kill you, screw the word, screw my oath and everything, I'm gonna kill you, and you're like, but wait, you promised everything. Well, I lied, didn't I? Which kind of also gives you an idea of why Killian, one of his skills is deception. Again, with the Lance Sterling camouflage, and of course, promising something, to other people, and then later on, he basically lied to them and let them die. Or should I say, in the scientist's case, he fucking dropped them, into his death. Now, besides that, now one of the things also that I noticed about when it comes to Killian, as a villain, which, again, very usual prop, which of course is no mercy. Like, he was even willing to hurt the kid that was with Lance Sterling, like when he was in Venice. Like, oh man, I'll never forget, like, the way how he was behind that statue, and he extended his cybernetic arm, and the way he hit his arm. Oh my god, that was like, woof. That was for immediate KO. Wow. But anyway, like, I love, anyway, after, he was trying to, like, say, like, come on, Lance, let's have some action, just you and me, come on, now come and get me. And he's like, well, life is full of disappointments, and then he was literally going towards the kid, like, trying to hurt him and everything, like, which kind of shows that he has no mercy at all, which also kind of gives you an idea that he's one of those villains that he will destroy anyone who gets in his way. Now, those are all strengths, even though some of them are very, very, traditional, very classic and everything. What about his weaknesses? Well, I would say one of his weaknesses is definitely his conviction, to exact his revenge on Lance, because I've said it before, and I've said like a few times in my villains review episodes, revenge, it can be a motivation, but at the same time, it can be your downfall. And Killian's downfall was also proven through revenge, his conviction, his obsession for Lance Sterling. But at the same time, he also proved to be arrogant a few times, and he also proved to underestimate his enemies. Like for example, he underestimated the kid that was like with Lance Sterling. Like for example, either there were even a few times in which he underestimated, there was even like in a few times, when he underestimated, Lance Sterling a few times because, he thought that he knew him. He thought, like, he's definitely going to do that. He's definitely going to hit me with that. And then basically it was the other way around, especially when at the end when he was using like, the kids' gadgets and everything, Oh my God, the way he made that face when he saw those kittens through the glitter. Crazy. But yeah, I mean, those are definitely also one of his weaknesses, for sure. Being arrogant, underestimating your opponents, and also the overall conviction and obsession he had for revenge and Lance Sterling, which again, very traditional things, very traditional villain things, when it comes to like the overall weaknesses / downfalls, especially like in Killian's consideration, like for example, one of the reasons, like like I said, one of the other reasons why he's one of those villains that he underestimated the hero is basically, when the kid was trying to cut off the connection between the drones and his hand, Killian basically said, if you do this, like you're gonna get us both killed, and you ain't no killer. And then basically, like, no, I'm a hugger, and he put him in that very strange like shield and everything, like which caught Killian by surprise, which again proves the arrogance and underestimating your enemies and everything. Now, some people might think also, there was a little bit of ego in him and everything, but I would say I didn't saw an ego in his character, honestly. I didn't saw an ego. I haven't seen any signs that proves that Killian has an ego or something, So and the way how he was as a character in this movie, I don't really think that he actually got an ego, basically, because like I said, he was he was basically a vengeful terrorist. He was driven by his conviction and obsession for Lance Sterling, for everything that he did to him in the past and everything, and also one of the things for me, it's kind of like a very impressive plus is that Killian also basically, because it's just kind of like very rare when a villain teaches a hero a lesson. And Killian, in this case, he actually also taught some lessons to, Lance Sterling, basically, which also proves that the kid that was trying to talk to him a few times, was actually right and everything. Playing, going against fire with fire and trying to be, violent, and basically you can't solve everything with violence. That there are other ways and everything. Like with Killian's speech that he gave him when he captured him, he also, there's also one of those points where a villain can also teach a hero a lesson, and he really did. He really did on that one. Also, I mean, there were a few times. I will also add one of his skills. I will also say that Killian proved to be unpredictable a few times. Like, for example, when he was surrounded by 1,000 drones, or for example, when Lance Sterling took the case and it was empty, like Killian already took out the drone, when he scanned him at the beginning, or like, basically, when he surprised the kid in Venice, like, like I will give him that there were some points where you kind of see that Killian was a little bit unpredictable, which for me, again, was a bonus for for a villain like him. Now, again, I don't really have much to criticize about Killian, because again, he is a very very, very, classical villain, like, with very classic elements to his character. I mean, the one thing also I will add, that, again, which sometimes could be rare, because usually that's not the case, but One thing I also admit for what I've seen, especially when we were trying to explore Killian's past, I've noticed that when when he was talking about that he lost all his men in Kyrgyzstan and everything, you can kind of actually feel that he actually cared about him. You know, that he actually cared about his men, which again, it's very rare. Which kind of means that the probably no that he did care about him, but he means that probably his men were actually very loyal to him. Because usually when it comes to henchmen, they usually follow you because they either fear you, because they have no choice, because out of money, or out of like try to be somebody or something. Like when it comes to straight up loyalty with no like catches, with no like any catch whatsoever around it, that's actually pretty impressive. And also Killian as the boss caring for them, that's actually for me another bonus for Killian's character as a villain. Yeah. So overall, I mean, like again, it's a very it's a very short like villains review, because again, Killian has all very classic elements to his villainous character. There is nothing much I can go deeper into it, you know, with everything that I've gotten, especially for like from the Spies in Disguise movie and everything. But overall, I will still say, I don't think that he was like a bad villain. I feel like he was a very impressive villain. I think he was. And also, one of the other things that I give him credit for, uh, Killian almost actually did it. Killian almost killed the agency, killed everyone in there. Almost. If it wasn't for that very last moment when the kid disarmed the hand, every single member of that agency would have ended up dead. And I give credit to those kinds of villains. I give them credit for that. For almost succeeding in their plans. Almost. I mean, some people might take it away, that particular element, but for me personally, that's a plus. That's a plus, and I have deep respect for a villain that almost succeeds in their plan. And Killian is definitely one of them. Which kind of brings me to the rating. What kind of a rating would I give Killian? Out of 1 to 10 villainy. Or should I say out of 1 to 10 villainous points? I think, to be honest, I think I will give Killian a solid silver 7 out of 10. I think as a villain, 7 out of 10, it's a silver lining. I think he had a lot more positives as an overall villain than an actual when it comes to the flaws and everything. So I will give him that. I think a solid 7 out of 10 is enough. It's a very decent silver lining when it comes to overall villainous points in this case. Which, of course, today, which also, where we are now, which of course brings us to an end, to another Villains Review episode. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. You guys, you guys and girls, the tradition. Comment, like, subscribe. Give me all personal thoughts about the Killian character in general. What did you thought of him as a villain? What did you thought about, his role in the movie or the movie itself in general? Everything in the comment section down below. And I'll see you guys next time on to the next Villains Review episode. So stay tuned, and like always, Lord of Shadows, signing off. Or, as I prefer to say it, later, fuckers.